Hello, everyone, and welcome to Seeing the Light, El Paso Electric Simplified Storage to Spark Innovation. Today's webinar is sponsored by Pure Storage and produced by Actual Tech Media. Good to see you all. I am Keith Ward, a moderator with Actual Tech Media, and I am super excited to be your moderator for today's event. But before we get to that content, we do have a few housekeeping items I need to let you know about. Starting off with, we want this to be an informative event for you, so ask questions. We encourage you to put them in the questions box in your webinar control panel. That's also the place to tell us where you're logging in from. Some of you have been doing that already, and if you haven't yet, let us know. We'd love to see where you're from, and you can let your fellow attendees know where you're from as well. Now, that Q&A panel is also the place to let us know if you're experiencing any technical issues. So if you can't hear something, can't see something, if things go sideways on you, give that browser a quick refresh or two. And then if you still don't have your problem solved, let us know and we'll hop on and help you out. Second, there are some great free resources in the handout section, and that's right there next to the questions tab. You'll see it just to the left. I'd especially like to call your attention today to 3 handouts from Pure Storage. They include an analyst report about the future of the all-flash data center, a solution brief on how to uncomplicate storage, and an article that looks ahead to the future of storage. Does that sound good to you? It sure does to me. Download those now. There you will also find a link to the ATM Decisions Group, which is a panel of IT decision makers that gets special access to more in-depth events and other opportunities. And you'll also find a link to the ATM Event Center, which has our calendar of more upcoming events just like this one. And finally, at the end of the event today, we're going to be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one of you. Now, you do have to be in attendance during the entire live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of that drawing can be found in the handout section. Scroll to the bottom, and you'll find the link with all the boring details right there. And with that, folks, let us move along and get to the good stuff. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. They are Nick Prieto, Data Center Operations Supervisor of El Paso Electric, and Kevin Rickson, Product Marketing Director at Pure Storage. Kevin's been with us numerous times before. He's always fun to have on, and he is kicking us off today. So, Kevin, I am going to hand the virtual mic over to you. You have the floor, sir.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us here today. We're going to have a really well-packed session that is not only going to be looking into some of the challenges that you have probably been facing as IT leaders around your infrastructure and especially your data infrastructure. But more importantly, we're going to be talking with one of your peers and getting their perspective on how they've been able to solve some of these issues. My name is Kevin Rickson, Product Marketing Director here at Pure Storage, and joining me today is Nick Prieto, who's the Data Center Operations Supervisor at El Paso Electric. Welcome, Nick.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kevin, for having me. Appreciate it.
We really appreciate you being here too. So before we get into our conversation with Nick, just thought I'd provide a little more context on what I meant by the challenges that we're facing. So if we can go to the next slide. Nothing on this slide is going to be a surprise to anyone. Maybe some of the words we're using or whatever, maybe like, what do you mean by that? But, IT is always facing challenges. Do more with less has been the mantra in IT forever, to the point where I make sure I never say that when anyone I'm speaking with, because it just sounds like noise in the background. But, when we think about how the demands on IT are just constantly increasing, whether it's new technology or just changes that need to happen, whether it's for the business of the organization or just changes in the application stack, et cetera. And then especially, how are we actually setting up our infrastructure? Is it on-prem? Is it in the cloud? Is it, like most people are going to, a mixture of both? And then, there's always a need for speed, for empowering users, not only with the data, but the access to it. And, developers especially making sure that they have the efficiency that they need to get the job done. At the same time, roadblocks are increasing too, whether it's, again, the basic things like a rigid infrastructure that just doesn't necessarily adapt to all the changes that are needed. Newer things like actually worrying about power and space, which it'll be interesting in our conversation to find out if a electric utility company worries about the power that they use. But I'm sure space is always going to be a constant there. And then also finding the right people and retaining them. There's a massive skills shortage in IT these days, and making sure that you've got the operational expertise, not only for the broad-based things that everyone in IT does, but, the specific things in your stack that you're focused on. And then just pulling the lens back, like I said at the beginning, we're always trying to do more with less, and that affects time, money, and as we just talked about, people. What IT is usually looking for, when you boil all these things down, is just more agility, the ability to do things faster, to be able to turn on a dime better without, having it break budgets or significantly slow the innovation or the business and organizational speed of your companies. And that's really what we're going to be focusing in on today: how we can, especially when it comes to your data infrastructure stack, the different kind of challenges and problems that we're facing and how we've been able to solve them. So with that, I want to bring Nick in. And again, thank you so much for joining us here, Nick. I'm really looking forward to your expertise in these areas. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about El Paso Electric and what it provides its customers and clients?
Yeah, sure. And thanks again, Kevin, for having me. It's a pleasure to be in this webinar. Like I said, I work for El Paso Electric, and I am the data center operations supervisor. So all of our on-prem and cloud infrastructure is under my purview. And a little bit about the company: we're a regional company where we do generation, transmission, and distribution services from southern New Mexico all the way to West Texas. So it's a pretty large service territory. And we're pretty proud of what we do here. And definitely partnering with Pure has helped that when it comes to our storage needs. So there's a lot that we can get into about that, but that's kind of an overall overview of the company. We're just a local electric company here in El Paso, Texas.
Well, and local is still a very wide area.
Yeah.
10,000 square
Well,
miles.
Texas is pretty big, so.
Right, exactly. And then you grab part of New Mexico too, just for good measure. So,
right.
Well, what is your IT environment like there at EPE?
Yeah, so our IT environment is pretty traditional in the sense of on-prem. We have two groups that do our data centers. My group is the corporate infrastructure. Your customer care and billing, your EBS systems. That's my side, and the SCADA network is a separate network, and that's the dark network, the one that is not out on the public. So mine is more the public-facing one for our customers and our local workforce.
Okay, great. And so what are and you're primarily working on the customer side of things and not really the actual grid itself, right?
Yeah, correct. That's a separate network. Ours is like of all of our billing systems and things like that, our VMware environment. I think we've been with Pure since 2019. I think we got it right before the pandemic. Our reps came in when it was kind of that period in time where you didn't know whether to shake hands or not. So it was it was pretty awkward, but we actually got it implemented during the pandemic, like the height of it. So getting the return on the hardware was pretty fast given the constraints with supply chain at the time. So yeah, it was about 2019 where we decided to go with Pure from our other vendors.
Great. And so you've got things like, I think there's a smart meter project that y'all have been working on that you're leveraging Pure Storage for, and I know that that's been a huge growth area in utilities lately.
Yeah, so we're currently deploying our AMI smart meters. I believe we're about 50% done in our service territory, but what we quickly realize is that the AMI data grows every 5 minutes, every 15 minutes. So the way Pure Storage has been handling the deduplication has been great. We can get a little techie here, and I can say that on average, we get about 10 billion rows of data a month of AMI data.
Wow.
And that equals about 20 terabytes. But Pure gets it down to about a good 4 terabytes. So we're definitely saving a lot of money on that. We can retain a little bit more data than when we normally would with other vendors. And we use that for like forecasting and capacity planning when it comes to generation. So it's very important.
Yeah, and I love how you touched on, because that was going to be my next question. How are you actually using that data to help fuel some innovation or customer satisfaction, obviously, because you can get that data back out in front of them and let them know. But more importantly, for your operations forecasting, it sounds like electrical needs and use, and making sure that you're going to have the right supply to meet the demand.
Yeah, correct. With that smart meter data, we could definitely, and that's not my team, obviously. My team's just
Right.
the geeks in the data center.
You're serving it up, so you're a crucial part of it.
Yeah, so they're definitely using that for the forecasting and kind of the planning throughout the months, especially during the summer months. So like I said, we're about 50% done. So we got quite a bit of ways to go, and that data seems to keep growing and growing, and Pure's been able to handle it pretty well.
And that's such a great example, because there are so many organizations these days that are depending, and a lot of the innovation that's happening is around sensor data. And then how do we leverage that within our organization to do better, whether it's literally better for our customers and clients and constituents, or to operate more efficiently and be able to find the places where we can become more efficient and cost optimize and all that kind of stuff. And that's a great example of where data can really fuel that innovation.
Yeah, and we're just the tip of the iceberg with the analytics behind all that data. So we're still working on that as well.
But again, the first part of it is making sure that not only you're collecting it and retaining it, for whatever other uses, but then you're able to leverage it, get it to the analytics teams, finding new ways of, whether it's a new analytics app or anything along those lines. So great. That's a fantastic, fantastic use case. And again, yeah, a good data platform is going to be able to not only handle the volume coming in, but also make sure it doesn't break the bank in terms of storing all that data in an inefficient way.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
Yeah,
operating the Pure storage arrays. That's kind of where it shines, is you don't really have to worry about upgrades, even hardware upgrades. That was one of the main reasons that we wanted to go with Pure, is to keep that data always on. I know that's a SQL term, always on, but it really is always on. We did a hardware upgrade during a senior leadership meeting, and I had to do a presentation. And meanwhile, I'm getting text messages from the team that, all right, we're starting the upgrade. And it was during the middle of a big, huge presentation, and the data was still there. So I'm glad that turned out that way.
So basically, without even intending it, you were able to demo to your leadership that your data infrastructure could be resilient even as you're upgrading it and making it better.
Yeah, I didn't plan those dates. I wouldn't have done it the same day, but
right?
It was a good surprise.
No, but that's a great point, because that's something I hear so often from folks who use Pure Storage in our platform, is that it was designed to be upgraded and kept modern, whether it's a new feature that you want to take advantage of, or the basic things like scaling out for capacity. But I think also the ability to scale out for performance, to really like move up within the stack. That was all designed so that there was no disruption involved in your data flow and therefore your organization. And it sounds like you've already reaped the benefits of that, even with just a 4 or 5 year relationship with Pure.
Yeah, definitely. That was a big point that we really focused on when it came to choosing a storage vendor.
So what are some of the other things that you have, the other benefits that you've derived from Pure Storage, whether it's from a, cost standpoint or simplicity of operations beyond the upgrades?
So in my role, I do a lot of the design work behind it, but I also have to do a lot of the budgeting and, the boring stuff. But with Pure, there's really no surprise when your renewal comes up. you pay for the data you're using, and it's a linear growth. It's not it doesn't increase unless you add capacity. So that's easy for me when it comes to planning the 2025 budget, the 2026, and so on. It just makes things a lot easier. It's super easy to predict the cost of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing predictability, which I think, again, given the context we were setting at the beginning, is a nice thing to have when you're in charge of this much infrastructure.
Yeah, another thing would be the staff. The complexity of other storage products it's a pretty steep learning curve. So there may be one or two like true experts. But when we installed Pure, we just said, you know what, let's just give everybody access to this, at least, on the data center team, because there's really nothing to it. I asked for a training when we purchased it, and they're like, well, it's be about an hour. And that was pretty much it. So having your team being able to do the same task without having to, hire a special storage administrator was a real good selling point there.
Right, exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that up because yeah, about an hour training. One of the fun things is that our install guide is basically, one of these, a business card. If you imagine two of them taped together and then tented out, that's been something that's been part of our design philosophy from the very beginning. Our co-founder, John Colgrove, affectionately known as Cause, not only inside but outside with our customers and partners as well. His mantra is all about, look, why should we be putting the burden on the people who are using our storage? Why don't we do the hard work in making sure the software is set up in a way that it's automating a lot of these processes that do require intervention and, twiddling knobs and a lot of hardcore monitoring to make sure that performance doesn't suffer or that there's not a break in the availability of the data. And it sounds like you're definitely reaping that benefit of now you can move to more of a generalist IT staff. You just said you basically opened up the storage management to all the staff as opposed to just focusing it on the one or two people who've gone through a couple of years of experience and training, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even in some cases to do an upgrade with previous technologies, it was even a professional services bid to get it done for us. So definitely saving on that as well, since we don't really do the upgrades, Pure does them for us. So you just put your request in, and a couple of weeks later they're upgraded.
Right. Yeah, and that's, again, it's not something that's easy to do. There's a lot of, from the vendor perspective, let me say, there's a lot of work in both the design and like I said, just the whole design philosophy here at Pure to make sure that our products respond that way, that we're not putting the onus on the users to, well, sorry, you're actually gonna have to reformat all your storage just to move to the next operating system. It's just not anything anyone ever wants to hear in IT, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's spoken previously that we did recently go through a big upgrade, and it was from an X50 to an X70. And the reason for that is because we just outgrew the capacity capabilities of the X50, and we were hitting it pretty good. So we needed to lower that load down, and that's why we did the in-place upgrade of the X70s during that meeting I was talking about. So that definitely helped us out a lot.
Wow. So that wasn't just a software upgrade. That was a hardware upgrade that you were going through at that point. Oh, that makes it even better.
Email going off about interfaces, but like I said, nothing went down. So
and just for context for our audience, so yeah, the product you were describing there is the flash array, our scale up product in our storage platform. Again, the UI and the software being run is pretty much the same. We also have a scale out platform called FlashBlade, but you were basically saying that moving from one model to the next, not only to get higher capacity, but it does come with a performance boost and a few other things along those lines, still didn't cause a ripple in your organization. And I got to assume that was part of your Evergreen subscription as well, right? It didn't require outside purchase.
No, it was part of the Evergreen. It was a controller upgrade, but then we added capacity as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how we've designed our subscriptions from the very beginning on the whether you want it on the ownership side or if it's a purely storage as a service, which we have as well, which just abstracts a lot of that stuff even more, not just from a financial standpoint, but even from a management and day-to-day standpoint. Pure and our partners take on a lot more of that responsibility, but all those are available as options. But I think the key thing, which you keep touching on, is what's already built into the system. Because that's really where I think a lot of you mentioned that previous storage products had required a lot more manual work, a lot more intervention.
Yeah, a lot more manual work and a lot of almost a master's degree to get them upgraded. It's pretty complex, but yeah, this one's been great.
You can turn this knob up to that point, but only if you make sure that that other knob was turned down over there. Yeah, right, exactly. The secret handshakes that are involved, and what we've tried to do in the Pure platform is engineer a lot of that stuff out, because automation can take care of a lot of that, which is great. I mean, that you've been able to reap some of the benefits of that. And again, getting back to the staffing issues, I mean, it sounds like, not only do you not need the specialists, but now a lot more of your staff can jump in, either if there is an issue or if someone, you need to spin up a new workload for someone else, provision that, etc. It's not going to fall in a bottleneck and a request chain that's going to last forever.
Yeah, correct. I mean, any of the team members can handle that now, and it's really a no-brainer. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's got to keep the internal constituents happy, the
Very
app
happy.
developers and database folks and everyone else.
Yeah, the one thing that I really got more into is the Pure One, the cloud platform, to provide us the ability to do that forecasting on the Pure array. Like, hey, I'm going to be adding. It shows you your growth, and it says, hey, in a year you're going to be full, or 2 years. So that's been really helpful for me when it comes to capacity planning. So I can say, hey, for 2026 we're going to need this.
Right.
So that thing's been working out really well.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, because we mentioned it's a consistent user interface. The Pure One tool that you mentioned is the main management plane that goes again across all the different products. And one of the great features is we do a lot of artificial intelligence and large modeling of our user base based on how other users have, if they faced a similar scenario. That's how we're able to power that forecasting you were talking about. So it's not just in a generic sense, it's really focused on the type of data or the workload. Is it a database or versus the smart meter data that you
Right.
have, which can be very, very different in how they're set up and how how the data reduction is done on them, and that intelligence is built into the monitoring and forecasting tools as well. And that's why we do it, is so that you don't, not only don't have the surprises in your subscription rates, but also in, I'm suddenly caught short and I've got to do, a quick budget ask to upgrade these systems, and I wasn't planning on that. Now it sounds like you've got at least, 1 to 2 year window on your forecasting, which I'm sure a lot of our audience would love to have.
Oh yeah, definitely helps out a lot. It's super accurate too. I didn't really believe it until I think our rep got on the phone with me and showed it to me. I was like, oh, you are right.
So tell me about some of the other reasons that you moved off of the legacy storage that you had. You've mentioned ease of use and, not needing a master's degree. Were there other benefits that you saw from going to Pure and other areas where it really helped you as someone managing all this?
Yeah, sure. So, we are an energy company, so, we're still, take sustainability into account. And that was a big thing by going to Pure, is that our old production storage along with our backup target would take about 2 racks. And now it's maybe half a rack, if that, with Pure. So we're using less power, we're consuming less power. And those same sustainability reports are on the Pure One platform, which is pretty neat to see. So that was a really big one. And then performance. I mean, who wants to hear anybody complain about slow virtual machines? Who wants to hear your database administrators complain about slow backups? And I can tell you that once we put Pure in, I think our DBAs asked if something was wrong because the backups were finishing in half the amount of time or something like that. And I was like, oh, I guess that's just the new array going at it. But yeah, so those are the two main reasons we went. And then, of course, the management, like we talked about. But those two specifically stood out to us because now we have less clutter in the data centers, less cabling, less power consumption. And that's something we all should be aware of.
Well, yeah, and everyone, I think these days, especially as so many organizations are undertaking AI projects, and there's a lot of worry about, we all know how data hungry those are, and see a headline every other day in the trade press about, data center restrictions and power restrictions around AI farms and whatnot, and it just triggers. I've been noticing a lot more awareness of data center space and the flexibility that that can buy an organization later on, not just in their sunk costs in a ton of infrastructure that has to be powered up and paid for, but also means now there's space for other types of growth and projects to be taken on.
Yeah, we can focus on more important things. And the thing I didn't bring up was cybersecurity. Here at the electric company, we're pretty proud of our cybersecurity posture, and we have a great team. Not part of my team; it's a separate team. But those guys provide the governance, and hey, you should be doing this and this and this. With Pure, the safe mode snapshots provide that compliance. The data encryption provides that as well. So going to that also kind of helped our cybersecurity posture when it came to our backup specifically, which we are still using Pure as a target as well, but we're using the C series for that.
Right. Okay. So, basically, and again, gives an idea of the breadth of the platform. You're using quite a bit of it here. That's the capacity optimized versus
Yeah, correct.
performance optimized version of the flash array component, and that it sounds like it was a great match to help beef up the cyber resiliency.
There you go. There's the buzzword right there.
Right?
Yeah, and honestly, we just moved to that platform this week.
Oh wow!
With
Congratulations.
the help of our backup vendor, which is Veeam. They were great partnering with Pure, and our backups are zooming now. So we're happy to see that.
Well, tell us a little more about that and what the benefits you've been able to reap from that
Yeah.
partnership between Pure and Veeam.
So I do have some data. Like I said, we just did it this week, and we ran our full backup, which it was a big portion of our main backups, and it's about 25 terabytes. And I mean, it was taking hours to complete. We ran the full backup, and I think we did 25 terabytes in about 40 minutes, hitting the C series. So that's pretty impressive. And some people on the webinar will be like, "Well, wow, that's actually really fast." And then being able to do an instant VM recovery off the C series, it's for capacity, but you can run workloads on there. If you
at the end of the day, it's still high efficiency flash.
Yeah, so you can recover pretty decent amount of VMs very quickly, and then later on move them over to their production storage array. So,
and that really is. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said it's been really good that the partnership between Veeam and Pure.
Thanks, and I mean, just on that, the recovery part that you were talking about, I think that's what's lit the light bulb for a lot of folks about, who would never think of, wait a minute, why would I have all flash on backup and recovery and things along those lines? But to me, it's felt like the killer app in this space, and where organizations have seen the greatest value from making a move like that is around how quickly you can recover. And these days, given we're all investing a ton in our frontline defenses, but the bad guys are using AI too. And people make mistakes and, this and that and the other thing. Um, so at a minimum, you want to make sure that not only that you have the backups, but you can spin them back into production super, super quick. And
Yeah,
you mentioned the safe mode snapshots, which is very specific in terms of ransomware, and that they're, what are known oftentimes in the industry as immutable snapshots. In other words, someone can try to do a ransomware attack on an organization, but there is a backup that can never be touched or breached by any outside force that can then be brought online once all the frontline defenses are back up, as opposed to a classic ransomware scenario where even if you've patched where the person got in, they've still disabled your access to your data, which no one ever wants to hear, right?
yeah, that's when the lawyers get involved.
Yeah. Well, I can speak from firsthand experience because we just had a major credit union out here on the West Coast suffer this, and I'm still getting updates. I think it's about a month after it happened. It's been at least 3 weeks, and they are still in the recovery process and the customer outreach. And it's not just an event that affects IT and maybe some, oh, we can't interact with our customers, or a couple of systems are offline. It can have huge brand impacts as well.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
anything that we can do within the infrastructure stack to prevent that or to minimize the impact, I think is really important. You touched on sustainability a little bit. I know the space savings was important. Obviously, you're an electric utility, so it's not so much from a cost standpoint, but I did notice that, one of your organizational pillars is around becoming more sustainable. So, obviously you're not the sustainability officer or anything along those lines, but I often hear from customers is, I don't need to worry about that yet. We're not in Europe. We don't have regulations around that, but it it it's kind of a good thing for everyone in IT to at least be keeping an eye on, whether it's from a space standpoint or carbon footprint or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're having to pay for your electricity for your data centers. I mean, this one, I couldn't give you the numbers exactly, but I mean, it's 2 racks full of spinning hard drives that we got rid
Yeah.
of. So, I mean, that's a pretty significant amount of energy required to do that. So, if you're paying for your electricity in your data center, this is definitely going to help with that, and it shows it to you on the Pure One, which is great.
Yeah, and just for our audience's benefit, the metrics that we've been able to see of Pure replacing hard disk stacks along those lines in a relative capacity standpoint is upwards of 90%, sometimes up to 95% energy savings on the storage alone. But even against all flash, we've been able to demonstrate, 80 to 85%. Some of the different configurations might go down to 60%, but it's up to those areas. And then when you look at the space savings, yeah, going from 2 racks to, what was it, less than a quarter of a rack or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very, very dramatic feeling, I'm sure.
it's clean now.
Yeah, good. I was hoping you'd say that and not, I miss all those blinking lights.
I
Being
I
able to
mentioned
roast a marshmallow off the heat coming from them.
I mentioned you. I needed to order more rack covers because there's just a big empty hole now. So I had to order more of the rack covers because now I got to keep the cold air in there.
That's smart. That's very smart. Excellent. Well, you've talked a lot about the simplicity and how it helps on operational costs. Has it helped fuel innovation? Have you mentioned being able to work on bigger projects? Not that you have to tell us what those projects are,
Top secret.
but have you seen a benefit around, if you don't have to, task staff just with managing storage and they don't have time for anything else? Have you been able to take on any additional projects that otherwise might have gotten shelved for 6 months or a year or more?
I definitely do think so. I could bring up one, which is pretty much our automation stack. Not having to deal with storage. We have our own private cloud, right, which is on-prem, and we were able to focus using, the VMware, sorry, the Broadcom tools to do all the automation behind building virtual machines and virtual workloads. So that took a lot of time to get, working, but didn't have to worry about the storage part. So that's a good example of one project that we were able to actually complete uh, because we didn't have to, spend our time upgrading hardware on storage systems and stuff like that. So it worked out really well.
Great example. Great example. And that, again, if what we're looking for is IT agility, and being able to prove and add value. I mean, you had the fantastic demo of having a hardware upgrade going on while you're presenting to your management.
Wouldn't recommend that because of like
Right.
your blood pressure, but I mean, I
But it
have
all
full
worked out.
confidence and I'll do it again.
And again, that is something that I've heard from a lot of other peer customers is the dependability
Yeah.
of it, and just I had someone describe it as, it's not like I don't think about my storage, but it's a lot more invisible than it used to be, because usually when I have to think about my storage or it's more visible to me, that means there's problems. That means I'm worrying about it more.
Yeah, definitely not with this one. It's a box that works. As simple as that goes, that's exactly what it is.
That's great. Anything that we didn't touch on, or any parting thoughts or recommendations for our audience?
Um, like I said, I would definitely go back to the backups. That backing up data, I think, is easy. I think any product will do it, or any platform will back up something, even tape, right? Who does tape now? But still, it still works, right? I think restoring the data is like by far like the most painful thing because you're nervous if it's going to work, and if it's 25 terabytes, how long is it going to take? And that right there gives me peace of mind. So I get a little bit better sleep knowing that.
Well, that's great to hear that we're helping add more peace of mind. Because again, I think every IT leader out there could use a little bit of that, right?
Oh yeah,
I think we
definitely.
all could for sure, but it's just even more so in IT. Well, Nick, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us here today. I want to give people a little more information about Pure. Stick around,
Okay.
please. But if we could go back to the slides, I just wanted to make sure everyone understands the context of what we've been talking about. What Pure Storage tries to do for our customers is deliver outcomes along a lot of the same lines that Nick was sharing about, whether it's lower total cost of ownership. And these are all conservative numbers. Consistently, we'll see minimum 30% lower TCO against other all flash, same performance, same capacity, all that. If for no other reason than, as Nick talked about, with the upgrades, not needing to repurchase storage, that saves a lot on our as a service consumption, lower operating costs, lower manpower costs, all those kind of things all add up to significant savings. And that helps fuel your innovation. The power and space efficiency, reliability. That was something we didn't really even have to get into any nightmare stories about. Um, you know, we design our systems to just work. And, we are anywhere from 10 to 30 times fewer service visits, amount of downtime, anything along those lines. And all that in a way that you can still expand, adapt as changes come down through the organization. As Nick pointed out, being able to not only add capacity, but then be able to move up within the technology stacks so that you had more performance and the availability of, higher performance features, all sorts of different things, all built in and without having to have downtime associated with that. Data that, there's no tiering basically. And this idea of being able to pull everything together, really simplifies things for everyone. And you see, that's really what we're trying to focus in on, a standard platform that is focused on simplicity at scale. If we go to the next slide, this is what we mean by that. The Pure Storage platform is designed to tackle all of your data needs. We talked about just a few different ones where it was a backup scenario, mainline, VMware, sensor data, all of these different things coming in, block, file, other types of object, and unstructured data, all of it together under the same platform that was designed with the same principles, has the same, interface, the same common experience across them. And what that leads to is a lot more simplicity. If the infrastructure itself is designed to be simple and you don't have to have a patchwork myriad grouping of disparate products that are going to require experts for each one, that is going to vastly simplify your job in IT as far as making sure that everyone can get the data that they need to do their jobs, to provide the innovation that your organizations are demanding, and to do it all in a secure way. Where it's making sure, as Nick said, that you've always got backups, that you've got support for all the different kinds of technology that we use to protect our data, all of that together in one platform that then adapts to all these different kinds of use cases, and all of it available in an as a service or a traditional purchase mode, depending on how you want to do it. And when we say as a service, we truly mean that as a service. When you think of how things work on the public cloud, you literally just pay for the service and it's all delivered to you. Even if the boxes are sitting in your on-premise infrastructure, that's the experience that you have. It's managed by Pure. It's a consistent, predictable amount of not only performance, and capacity that you're getting, but also what you're paying for that. And the forecasting capabilities, everything that we talked about, really help just add to that peace of mind that Nick was describing. And again, we can do this on premise. We can do it through the public cloud, and it can be completely hosted as well. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that this isn't just us or Nick talking about it. Pure Storage has been recognized by Gartner up in that leader quadrant in storage, what they call their magic quadrant, for 10 years running now. And that is a testament to the focus that we have put here in Pure on not only designing great products, but trying to stay ahead in terms of the kinds of technology that we're delivering, the vision, and also the ability to deliver for our customers and be relied upon for that. And what that really boils down to is what I love to throw up on our next slide, kind of the three different areas. I love me a good Venn diagram. And, when you talk about a customer experience that's going to be positive, it relies on all three of these: the technology itself, the ability to deliver something that can, last and that you don't have to keep replacing over and over. That's what we call our evergreen business model, and a customer focused organization that, one of the testaments that we have there is the fact that we have the highest net promoter score in the industry, an audited one, by the way, not just us claiming it. But we work with a lot of partners there to make sure that not only we're getting great feedback about how we can improve our business, but we deliver that for our customers. And we operate at about 3 to 4 times the net promoter scores of any other vendor in the space. So, what this says to you is, just as Nick said, if you partner with Pure Storage, you're not only going to be able to achieve more, but you're also going to be able to have a partner that stands along with you and stands behind everything that we promise. So if you would like to find out more, obviously there are the different links that we have for you to download. But if you just want to go to one central place and find answers to a lot of your different questions, you can scan the QR code, or just you go to purestorage.com and type /future, and that'll take you to the same page. And that has a lot of our different ways of finding out more about the issues that you may be facing and how Pure Storage can help you with those. Nick, again, I want to thank you so much for your time here today. It was a true pleasure. You are steely-eyed missile man.
Thanks, Kevin. I
A
really
line I
appreciate
stole
this
from
opportunity.
from the right stuff years ago.
There you go.
Well, thanks again, and we really appreciate it. And you have a great day. And thank you all in our audience for joining us here today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Kevin and Nick, what an amazing presentation. I love case studies, that real world experience, and seeing how things work when things go wrong, and all the potential complications that you just really can't simulate in a lab environment or a test environment. That's why these case studies are so valuable, and it's great to see how customers are using Pure Storage to make sure their operations are smooth and secure, and all of those good things that we want all of our ops to be. So once again, thank you both for being here today, and especially the insights you provided about the importance of simplifying your storage. Now, we will not be able to take questions today, but have no fear. Pure Storage will be following up with any questions that you ask and getting you those answers. So sit tight and don't worry, you will be hearing from them. So folks, we are nearly wrapped now, but I have one more thing to do for you today, and that is to give away that Amazon gift card that you see up there on the screen right now. $250, as I said at the beginning. And the winner of that card for this session is Nicole Newman from Oklahoma. That's where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, for those of you who like Broadway musicals. Congratulations to you, Nicole. We will be in touch to get you your card. And with that, folks, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Pure Storage for making this event possible. I want to thank you, the attendees, as always, for being here, for your interest in the topic, for your great questions, and for spending part of your day with us. Can't wait to see you in the next one. And that's all for me, folks. Have a great rest of your day.